We begin with the rising spate of insecurity in Nigeria, with no fewer than 144 persons killed by herdsmen in the two north-central states of Plateau and Benue in the last 2 weeks. The bloodletting intensified on Tuesday with the killing of at least 13 persons, while scores of others sustained injuries, with over 50 houses razed. 104 persons, comprising 53 in Basa local government area and about 51 to 52 in Bokos local government area of Plateau State, were killed by the marauding herdsmen. At least 40 people have also been killed in Benue State. Now, similar attacks have claimed several lives in other Benue communities in Otukpo and Gwe West and Gwe East local government areas. Aside from the killings in the north-central states, Boko Haram insurgents also attacked Adamawa communities in Hong local government area, killing 7 persons, while scores of others are still missing. This comes as the governor of Borno State, Babagana Zulum, has raised the alarm over the resurgence of Boko Haram fighters in the state. On his part, Plateau State Governor Caleb Mutfong says he believes, quote, every community must defend itself in response to the mass killings in the state by suspected armed headers, as everyone cannot be sleeping at the same time. Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu has ordered a full-scale security offensive following the deadly attacks. He condemned the killings and directed security agencies to identify and apprehend the perpetrators. Meanwhile, news just coming in says the Minister of Defense, Mohammed Badaru Abubakar, has just arrived in the north-central state of Plateau, and he will be meeting with heads of military operations in the state and, of course, state officials. Well, joining us to examine the worsening security situation in Plateau State, in specific, is the State Commissioner for Information, Honorable Joyce Ramnap. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Shakari. Good evening, viewers.
Thank you so much. And so, talk to us about what the Plateau State Governor is doing at the moment. I mean, since we had those attacks, and then, of course, the lamentations Monday, Tuesday, till now, the focus is on humanitarian affairs within the state. How are you catering for those who are victims of this?
Thank you very much. It's been quite a challenging time for us on the Plateau. And I must start by appreciating the efforts the efforts of everyone, support from everywhere. People are calling to sympathize with us as a people on the Plateau. You are aware of all the instructions the President had given on recent for the visitation to Plateau by the NSA, the Chief of Army, the IG of Police, and of recent, just today, of course, the Defense Minister and our own Minister from Plateau. Of course, the governors from Plateau, the governors were in Plateau as well to commiserate. Yes, the Nigerian Governors Forum were in Plateau to commiserate with us over the killings that has happened on the Plateau, and we do appreciate that. It's giving us as a government reason to keep moving. The issues, of course, are out there, and it's things that we would have to look at it again and again to be sure we get done with it. The challenges that we're going through as a people, we have made it very clear that the issues on the Plateau is not farmer-herder clash. We have made it clear again that it is obvious this is genocidal in nature. The level of destruction, the killings and destruction that we're seeing, it's just obvious that it's not far from land-grabbing tendencies that we are seeing as a people on the Plateau. Of recent, you are aware, it was in the nights and people were sleeping, including children.
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole lot
yes,
of Nigerians.
So how do you there is
students, I mean, children were not spared by these killers.
Children between the ages of 3 to 8 were part of those that were killed. Old women, over 70-year-old people were part of that number that were killed. So we can tell that this is not a hardest clash. So it's proper that at this point we get this narrative right, that no, it is not that. There are no two communities that are clashing at the moment on the Plateau. There are no community A rising against B or community B rising.
There are other reports that said that some of these herdsmen were attacked by some local communities, and as a result of that, these attackers whether they're headsmen or not, had to go back, regroup, and then come back to defend themselves?
I would, if this is true, which I do not want to believe so, because even in the midst of the attacks, you still find the herders, they are still within those communities. If you go to Plateau, you will still find them that they are still within the community. But one thing that I can say is that they are faceless. So how do you justify who is behind this killing? Because they come in the night, attack, do their destruction, and then disappear. Before morning, they are no more there again. So how do we justify that it's these same people? However, we do not want to separate it from criminality. We do not want to separate it from terrorism as an instrument they're using to destroy lives and properties. And if you look at the trends of what they are doing, this is, if you go around Plateau now, people are preparing for the farming season. And so now with these attacks, they just put in fear in the people, and then people will restrain from farming. Okay, so this is deliberate, it's genocidal. Now,
could this also be linked with the quest for mineral resources in Plateau State?
It's not far-fetched.
That's what we hear. It's happening in other states. Some of these deadly attackers, headsmen and all of that, go there, attack, and then ransack communities, and then they start mining. Has the Plateau State government done any sort of survey on such kind of issues?
Yes, it's not far-fetched. Of recent, because of the issues around the mining communities, you know the deposit that is there and the destruction that is causing for us as a people too. The governor of Plateau State had called for the temporal suspension of mining activities on the plateau, and he set up a powerful technical committee to review the working procedures around the mining site. In fact, a lot is going on there. The number of lives that are being destroyed there, the way people are dying there, it's equal to the number of people that are killed by the gun as well. So again, besides that, these mining activities, again, is posing a lot of challenges for us. Abusing of children, and all of that. They are all related.
And people want to find out what exactly Governor Mutfwang has done. I know that he imposed a curfew and all of that. Said motorcyclists should not ride at a particular point in time. What other measures have you put in place? And then, isn't there some sort of outreach for communities, for dialogue, to be able to know if indeed there are some things that the government may have been neglecting?
Well, to start with, the governor had paid condolence visits to these communities, and you know the power of that. Knowing that his sharing in their pain was quite encouraging for them, and he also encouraged them to remain resolute as the government is up and doing to ensure that succor comes to them. The governor had also set up an interfaith dialogue advisory committee. You notice that most times when this criminality comes, they give it religious connotation. And because of that, there's every need to not to downplay the religious perspective, to say, okay, let's have a committee that will advise the governor. And this is a very powerful, with equal representation across faith and ethnic groups on the plateau. It's chaired by a former Cochin president and co-chaired by the Emir of Wase, to advise the government on ways to deal with these challenges. This committee is also supposed to begin to initiate processes of peaceful coexistence between the religious sects. It's also supposed to build confidence in the people. You know, it's also important because in the wake of these issues, you need somebody to tell you the right words you want to hear. You need somebody to build your confidence. And you know how we are Nigerians and our commitment to our religious beliefs. So this is one aspect that we feel that as a government, the committee should be able to take it beyond whatever measures the governor is putting in place or whatever processes that we are doing towards stopping these issues. So we can again live with trust and then live together as one on the plateau. Now that is just one measure. Looking at the areas where these attacks come from, most times they take these attacks from the boundaries.
Yeah, I mean, far to reach communities.
Thank you very much. Far to reach communities. Okay, so now the governor has directed the opening up of the road networks within this area, so accessibility would be easier for the people, for security operatives if there's a need for help, they can quickly be within reach and they can get there. And also, like I use Boko's Hurti community for one. There's no internet connection or no telephone service.
Yeah, because even we too as journalists, we were taken aback that some of these hard to reach communities, there was no information until at about 24 hours after the attacks happened, before journalists got to know and all of that.
Okay, so the government is equally investing in that to ensure that the people in that community will be within reach. But most importantly is this that we believe that can also help is to rejig the state security outfit, which is the Operation Rainbow. You see, the Operation Rainbow, even though it also has that security, conventional security operators within it, the activities of Operation Rainbow will complement the efforts of the traditional
How about the Operation Safe Haven, I mean, by the military?
Yes, that's the military operations.
I mean, people have been looking at it broadly and saying that could it be that Governor Mutfwang is also not relating so much with the security services, and that's why there are loopholes. I mean, is there anything more that he could do to support the security forces in the state?
Well, I do not want to believe that that is applicable on the Plateau. There's been very good collaboration within the security operatives within the Plateau, and there's much cooperation, and every time, probably the response time could be slow, but that does not mean that response has not always been coming to us as a people. But there's a very good working relationship within the security operatives. You are aware that, of course, when they go out of their ways, if you look at the operations of Operation Safe Haven, military, the army is supposed to give us territorial protection, but if they step backwards to give us intrastate protection, I think that is good collaboration to start with. So.
All right. So I would just want to focus on some other aspects that will have to do with the internal issues in Plateau State. The issue of religion, ethnicity has always been a boiling point in Plateau State. And we've seen a lot of interfaith dialogue, both by the military, by the state government, and all of that. Now, talk to us about how the issue of politics has also played out. Because there were some people who were accusing Governor Mutfwang of not doing faith balancing, I mean religious balancing in his cabinet and in other political issues and all of that. How can he also try to build confidence in terms of his politics of inclusion so that we don't have situations?
To start with, I think that is a wrong assertion. Yes, to say that Governor Mutfwang is not balancing the appointments. Take Plateau and spread it out. The areas where they are controlled within the Muslim communities, the chairman of Wase local government is a Muslim who is from Wase. The chairman, the commissioner representing Wase is also a Muslim. Come to Kanam, the same is obtainable there. So if you find these areas, you find that they are equal spread. The commissioner from Jos North is equally a Muslim. It's equally a Muslim. There has the chairman from Jos North is Christian and Muslim. Of course, you have a chunk of Anagutas within Jos North. So that is a very wrong assertion. I really do not want us to reduce these issues to religious, the religious perspective.
Because when you point at genocide, then there must be someone who is responsible for this genocide. So people are trying to dig deeper and say, what exactly? Could it be the fault lines that have always disturbed Plateau? And so maybe people are now masquerading through other backgrounds to actually come through this. Because where is this militia coming from? Where are these attackers coming from? That's what people are asking.
Before, Mr. Shagari, before this administration, in the last administration, there was an attack around Kanam. Kanam is predominantly Muslims, and that attack hit the Muslims. What name do you call that attack? Would you call that a religious attack? Now, let us look at this thing collectively. Can we begin to give it the true picture that it has?
And what's the true picture?
The true picture is that it's beyond Plateau. Let's not separate Plateau State.
Yes, because I was going to go to the issue of Benue State.
It's Benue, there's Benue, there are other states that are also affected by these things. Maybe if we give it a national outlook, we can understand the issues better and then look at a collective solution. Let me just be frank with us that if we don't get this diagnosis right, the treatment will be wrong.
And that's what people have been saying, that politicians in your state are becoming governors over the years, and these same issues keep happening with hundreds of people killed. Shouldn't we have had maybe like a judicial commission of inquiry over some of those panel reports that have been set up, so that we have permanent solutions? I mean, right from the days of Jonah Jang, the days of Joshua Dari and all of that. These things keep happening, I mean, since the return to the Fourth Republic. So people keep asking, what exactly can we do better? How much are you reaching out to the federal authorities? What kind of support is the Office of the NSA, for example, providing for the governor of the state? Because, I mean, people are also alarmed, so that we don't have a situation whereby Governor Mutfuan is also, you know, maybe placed aside because of issues of state of emergency. So governors have to also be seen to be working to protect their territories, because those of you who are in government are the ones in charge.
Okay, thank you. I want to say that the governors that were in the past administration would have possibly done their own bit. But you can see that the issues keep springing up. It keeps springing up, which shows that it's beyond just looking at this particular government of Governor Caleb Mutfwang as a situation to look at. It's better we take it holistically. I recall the days where the Terminus main market was bombed. I recall when Dogona Hawa was attacked, brutal attack. It's something that never goes down.
It used to be during the festive period, I mean the Christmas and New Year period, and this time around it's close to Easter.
This has always been the trend. It's either before the farming season begins or before the harvest. If it's not harvest, then it is during the festive period. This has been the trends of the attacks that we have experienced as a people on the plateau. But like I said, let us look at the issues holistically.
Yeah, I mean, so that's why those reports, the reports that have been done in the past, how is the current government treating those reports? Isn't there something to learn from previous reports?
Absolutely.
What exactly is the cause of this?
Absolutely. There's much to learn from every report. But the prosecution, in fact, let me tell you that even as we speak, there has been an arrest in this last attack. Okay, what we want to follow up to see what will happen, what will be the outcome of this arrest? What will be the outcome of it? Let us see, let Nigerians know that, okay, the attack, the arrest that was done, no, the person is guilty, no, he's not guilty. Let us know. Okay, these can be ways that it would also begin to clear these issues. Because once there's no punitive measure put in place to deal with these issues, especially those suspects that are guilty, this will keep reoccurring. This will keep reoccurring.
And I recall that I heard. Yes. I mean, some of these suspects.
And terrorism as well.
People are saying that the use of the word genocide by your governor, it's a very strong word. And of course, there has to be a lot of evidence to back it up, because the international community may actually pick an interest in it. And of course, Nigeria will be called to actually account for what's happening in Plateau State and of course, some of these other areas.
Mr. Shagari, I was at the funeral of the last attack in Bassa. In one family, 8 people. 8. What is left of that family? What will be left of that family? What name will you give that? I am not in the army, but I also know that there are standards of the rules of engagement, okay? When you hit children, you hit women. What do you want to achieve? If the men, you're not sparing them. Okay, if you, for any reason, find reasons to kill men, when you kill children, what will be the future of a state? So why would you say that it shouldn't be genocidal? We shouldn't call it the name genocide.
No, I mean,
it's wiping a generation.
That it's not that you shouldn't call it genocidal, but you should have a lot of concrete evidence to back it up. So that this issue could actually end up even in international courts.
I just gave you in simple terms what this can be. So if you kill a family, you wipe the children, what will be of that family? Who will be the name? So is that
next thing is to ask why the Nigerian government isn't doing so much to pick these lines, because if a state governor can call it a genocide, then the federal authorities should be much more interested in finding very quick solutions, because, I mean, it could be summoned by international authorities to account for what's happening in your state. What kind of support have you been getting from the federal government? The NSA, we know the Chief of Defense Staff is, Minister of Defense is currently in Plateau. What kind of other support are you getting, and are you satisfied with what you're actually receiving?
Well, I would say that the governor had always been thankful to Mr. President for the support. They've been talking. I guess there are some issues that are related at that level, and I would want to believe that it is also evident since the number of personalities and the forces we're getting on the plateau. I want to believe that these are an outfall of the interaction that the governor has had with Mr. President. And recently we also received the more troops that have been sent into Plateau, which we also expect that there should be more surveillance on the plateau as well. So I am very hopeful that these will give us that needed peace that we want on the plateau.
And some people have also come hard on your governor for saying that people should resort to defending their communities. Can you clarify what exactly he meant by that?
Thank you. You see, people just take on words, just like you also mentioned that the political angles of these issues, you just want to fault somebody who is doing his bid. The people of Plateau are with the governor. Believe me, irrespective of political differences, the people understand the issues that are at stake. They understand that this is not just a fight for Governor Caleb Mutfwang or the government in power at the moment, but it is a collective fight for the people of Plateau State. And so, yes, we can still find some elements that will come up with all these reasons. What the governor said is for the people to rise up to this challenge. How can you do that? He called for activation of vigilantes in their communities. You know that in our society, there's hardly any community that does not have vigilante. Okay, if we get the active participation of vigilante on surveillance, it can also help. For instance, if the vigilante will raise alarms, it will help. He has also called that going forward, people should farm in groups, to go to the farm.
Yeah,
we used to have this system, the Gaia, where people go to one person's farm. We do not want this issue that you find probably a 5 hectare of land and you see just 3 people on the farm. Of course, these ones can be victims, but if we have them come as a group on the farm, they can call for help if there's anything. And then once the youth need to be more active, the calling for people to rise up is to be more active, to be more vigilant. Don't go and sleep all through the night and you hear movement and you're not paying attention.
Yeah, I mean, I actually love that part that he said that all of us cannot be sleeping at night at the same time. I mean,
because this is what has been.
Because we've left security to the security forces alone.
Exactly. I think when the people do that, it's actually out of trust. When the people do that, it's out of trust that they do that. So he is calling for people to be more active in knowing what is going on around them. If you see strange movement, if you see strange faces, begin to raise alarm. And as a government as well, we're putting in place some step-down procedures on how to report issues as a way to also tackle the situation.
Well, as we try to round off this conversation, Honorable Commissioner, let's talk about this issue being a regional issue. The North Central Benue State is being affected and all of that. Yes, I mean, in other stories we've heard from the Northeast and all of that, people are beginning to ask for new approach. Could you think of having a conversation with your governor as to how they can build a regional security network? We've seen that happening in the South-South, in the Southwest and Southeast. Isn't it time for governors in the North Central to think of having a regional security outfit?
I want to believe that it's something that is on the line, because even like I told you, the Governors Forum were in Jos, and
coincidentally, the chairman of the Governors Forum is the North Central
from
governor.
The North Central. So this is something that I believe that the governors should think about. But again, you see, people keep opposing this issue of state policing. Okay, people seem to oppose that issue, but that seems to be a way out of this challenge.
Well,
that we're
that's
facing,
because they think that some governors can use it for political purposes more than I mean the security purposes.
But look at the bigger picture. What does it bring to the table? What will it benefit us if we bring 1,000 or 1 million army to Plateau? They do not understand our terrain. They don't know our mountains. They don't know where it leads to the next village. One of these attacks, it was at the border of Wampa. as a local government, okay? It takes a Plateau person to know that terrain. So for me, if we must look at this thing holistically, let us consider the issue of state policing. Community policing is another thing that can also support that system, okay? Everyone be watching what the next person is doing.
All right, and a lot of us actually felt very bad for some of these women when we saw those visuals, people crying for their children. I mean, apart from sympathy that a lot of Nigerians have expressed, what sort of help can maybe like the National Assembly and other Nigerians, help Plateau State with, including with other states that you think, are facing this kind of challenge? But specifically, this one that children and women have been, slaughtered at night. What kind of help should Nigerians provide more to you?
Well, the help will be for food. I would want to say that the help that we will need at the moment is just to increase surveillance. Okay, if we can get increased surveillance to, and then Nigerians should be true to the issue so that we have a front as a way out of it. And of course, if we get the food, we get all the infrastructural support that we need to build roads. Like I told you, the governor is now opening up new road projects within the state. It will help. But another very, very important step that Mr. Governor has initiated, which I think would also help. Because mind you, when people don't go to farm, that is food insecurity right there. Right there. So he is, we've put up a program that is the Agricultural Development Project, where areas where these attacks are prevalent, you cluster the farmers in that area, and there's a soil testing in that areas to ensure that we get the right kind of crops planted in that place. Before now, everybody is planting everything that he wants. This one is maize, this one is groundnut, this one other things. But now, with the clustering of these farmers together, the government will support them to ensure that we plant the right crops in those areas so we get better yield. Just by the reason of that soil testing, we just realized that barley will grow very, very well on the plateau.
Yeah, and of course, and very exotic crops that grow in your region.
Before now, we have not been able to do that. So these are the initiatives that the government is doing. We can get support. All right. We also want support. We also, of course, we want investors in our state.
Yeah, there was a fashion show and all of that, an investment tour that you put in place just a few weeks back. And I was wondering, if you're doing that and all of a sudden this sort of bad PR comes out of your state, I don't know how you're going to manage both.
This is a setback. That does not take away the potentials that we have as a people on the plateau. It does not take away our potential. Okay. So another major help that we can get is to get investors in agriculture. That will help us. We want to revamp our tourism sector on the plateau. It's a good place for you to come, and I'm looking forward to seeing you as well.
All right, but just before I let you go, one very quick last question. Governor Mutfwang is the only opposition governor in the North Central, the PDP. And he's been surrounded by APC governors, and then, of course, an APC-led federal government. Is he feeling like an orphan in trying to govern Plateau State? If he calls the president, do you think that he gets the right support? Does Mr. President pick his call easily? If he wants to call the NSA, do you think he receives those support, the Inspector General of Police and all of that? Does he receive wide-range political support to help govern the state very well and not feeling like an orphan because he is a member of the PDP?
I do not think he's feeling like an orphan. And I also believe that when Mr. President sees capacity, he aligns with it. And this, the president has shown us as a people on the plateau, being concerned about what is happening. With the Governors Forum rallying around our governor, most of them are not within the PDP.
I asked you this question because in the midst of all these killings, we haven't seen Vice President Kashim Shettima touching down in Plateau State. And we all know President Tinubu is out of the country. So Nigerians are wondering why the Vice President didn't come down to Plateau State and the President didn't rush back to the country in the midst of this kind of killings. That's why I asked you
I want to
question.
believe that in no short time, the Vice President will be in Plateau.
All right. We must thank you so much, Honorable Joyce Ramnap, who's the Commissioner for Information and Communication in Plateau State. We must thank you so much. And our condolences to your people. And of course, a lot of Nigerians are actually worried because Plateau State used to be a very peaceful place. And its slogan is a home of peace and tourism. So we just hope the peace and tourism have not all disappeared entirely from the map.
It will not disappear.
Okay.
That is something you can't take away from us. And I
All
also
right.
want to use this opportunity to thank you, the media in Nigeria, the efforts you're making towards telling the story, but also to solicit that you're also going to be partners in progress to the development process of Plateau and, of course, the northern states as to the challenges we're experiencing. Can we find a way of, after getting the true picture of it, to do more of making sure that the narrative is corrected, so people don't continue to get the wrong impression about what is not, and then we do not send the wrong signals, especially to those investors of ours coming.
All right. We must thank you so much.